Hello and welcome to today's episode, the 38th in our series. Today we are excited to get to review and examine the game and watch called Pinball. But before our review begins, let's take a look back at our last episode, and the photo quiz question we like to call What in the World? Hopefully this photo quiz didn't pose too much of a problem. So did you know what it was? It was of course the Nintendo Switch, but it was the OLED model from the 8th of October in 2021. This is due to its amazing white color scheme that marks it out from its predecessor. Back to our focus game, Pinball was first offered for sale on December 5th back in 1983, but saw very poor sales of perhaps 250,000 units at best. Those disappointing sales figures mark this model out as a slightly rarer game for collectors today, especially if it's a boxed one in mint condition. The series of Nintendo handhelds, known as Game & Watch, sometimes offer up something slightly different, and that definitely seems to be the case with today's focus and the star of this show, the Game & Watch called Pinball. And that's because it was actually quite an original concept at the time, and definitely one that marked it out from all of its predecessors. As a real oddity, this is because right up until this handheld, all the previous games were consistent in being character-based, in so much they featured a stick figure that would eventually become known as Mr. Game & Watch. It was an amazing concept really, to create a portable version of the famous, and at the time, super popular arcade pinball machine, into a portable unit. The game is super sleek, with its jet black faceplate, framed with a beautiful gold border, coupled to a dazzling neon bright central logo on the outside, housed in a matching black plastic case, with one of the most colorful screens ever to grace a Game & Watch console. The gameplay mimics the real arcade original in that you operate two sets of flippers. One set on the top screen and one set on the bottom screen. This game simply looks fantastic, and it was a fantastic concept really, when you consider the LCD limitations, and the fact that the huge arcade games with their glass-topped cabinets were so big, so expensive, and realistically not a home choice option at that time, only adds to the desirability of this game. And honestly, having the ability to play pinball at home was mind-blowing enough, but to have that very game as an electronic portable handheld was simply astonishing. The game came with the normal and expected two default options, those being Game Mode A and Game Mode B. Game Mode A is a standard pinball game played with an initial 3 balls with no additional bonus balls awarded. Game Mode B is a little more complex. It is played with an initial single ball, however you get to earn bonus balls at 10,000 with further additional new balls every 20,000 points. You can earn up to a maximum of 3 balls on the screen at the same time. The highest possible score is a whopping 999,900. Which is super high to better reflect a real pinball machine and its insane scoring and the excitement of lots of points in a frenzied fashion. During gameplay, the upper and lower flippers operate together. It is obviously best to try and keep the ball in the upper screen as long as possible because it poses no threat there. Also, it's worth noting, you can try to close the gate on the bottom left side of the lower screen, by passing the ball through the 700-point area located on the top right side of the upper screen. And equally noteworthy is to only do this once, because if you do it a second time the gate will reopen. Understanding the points awarded in this game and why is almost nonsensical. They're added depending on the value of the locations the ball is in and where that ball travels and what the ball actually strikes. What is worth remembering perhaps, is that 500 points will be awarded by striking the 500-point bumpers at the top of the lower screen when it's flashing. You start with your lives being represented with the balls available, so Game Mode A shows 3 balls ready to play at the start of that game. Just like real pinball, you will lose a life when a ball falls into the left side alley or chute, also the middle alley between the flippers on the lower screen. In Game Mode A with 3 misses, shown by the previously mentioned balls disappearing from the start position in the lower right corner of the lower screen, the game will be over. In Game Mode B the game finishes when all balls earned on the screen are lost. Remember that in Game Mode B, even if you are able to score a bonus ball award, but at the same time unfortunately lose a life, then no extra bonus ball will be awarded. If you hold in Game Mode A or Game Mode B buttons, the highest previous score will be displayed. If the unit is left unattended after finishing a game, the time display will appear in approximately 4 minutes. Gameplay is not interrupted even if time button or any other game buttons are pressed inadvertently during gameplay. Pressing ACL switch or removing batteries erases the high score from the internal memory. Bringing together what we've heard so far, I'd ask you to watch the 2 screens shown here to see the game in action. Let's briefly view some gameplay. Here we see Game Mode A. Sadly, with only 1,700 points, the first ball is lost, quite quickly down the central alley between the 2 flippers. And, as you can see, the second ball has been launched up the right side, and seems to be a little more successful than the first. I'd encourage you to watch the ball's movement dynamic, considering it's the fast switching on and off of a single LCD sprite that gives the illusion of fluid movement. It's really not bad at all. And as a reminder, all the neon bright colors seen here in both of the screens are achieved by using two underlying colored filters. Think back 3 years prior to the launch of this game. Back in 1980 in the original Silver series they had no underlays. The Gold series introduced a single colored underlay the same year, and this is the pinnacle of that process. So with the score rocketing towards 8,000 points, we sadly see our second lost life. Our third and final life begins with only 8,200 points on the scoreboard. We'll need to try harder. Okay, with some luck and a bit of extra focus we should be able to rack up some points here with our last ball. And darn it! That was disappointing. Our last life is lost, for a final, and somewhat disappointing score of 9,100. Well, our little look at the game and watch called Pinball is nearly complete, but I'll flip through the instructions booklet first. Here we see that Pinball had the production code of PB-59. The booklet is prefaced by a detailed table of contents, that is followed by a schematic of an open game labeling the various parts and functions. The next 2 pages cover battery installation as well as the method for setting both the clock, or time settings coupled with the alarm functions. The next section has a short overview of the basic gameplay and how to play snapshot, and a quick look at the control button options. The booklet then goes on to attempt to explain the various scoring points, the different bonus levels, and finally how the 2 game modes will differ from each other and how the game is lost. Following the previous and more recent issues from Nintendo's Game & Watch series, the booklet utilizes a cartoon comic style gameplay walkthrough. This is followed by a general caution statement, and finishes up with an overview of the unit's specifications. And as had became the norm during this period, an info slip was inserted for gamers who would likely not read the instructions booklet. Here we see what a new game might have looked like back in 1983, alongside a retail store shipper carton. Here we can see some of the national distributors, starting with Japan, which is often seen as the standard box, followed by the brand name called pocket-sized used in North America. Then there's CGL who supplied the UK, and lastly we see France's Nintendo distributor for this era, called JI21. And that just about wraps up our look at the Game & Watch called Pinball. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and that only leaves me with the photo quiz question we on our channel like to call What in the World? This is where we show you a distorted photo of something Nintendo and we see if you can identify it. If you think you know what this mystery item is, leave a comment in the section below, or join me in the next episode and all will be revealed. All that's left for me to say is please hit the like button, think about following us, and if you're going to subscribe, then smash that alarm icon at the same time. Thanks for watching.